Hi, 7th grade. Welcome to the last lesson of Topic 3, Lesson 3-6, Solve Simple Interest Problems. By the end of the lesson, I want you to be able to say, I can apply percent reasoning to solve simple interest problems. Let's explore it. Gerard compares the offers at two different banks to decide where he should open a savings account. Draw a representation to show how much would be in the first savings account if Gerard's initial deposit was $D. So if he originally gets D and he uses this first bank, they add $100. So it would be D plus 100. B, draw a representation to show how much would be in the second savings account if Gerard's initial deposit were $D. Well, the second one says when you open a savings account with us, we'll add 5% of your first deposit to the account. So it would be like D plus 5% of D. So 5 over 100, 5% of D. Use the two representations that you drew to explain how the offers at the two banks are similar and how they are different. So I want you guys to take a moment and write something down. Write one thing that's similar and one thing that's different. Pause the video and we'll press play when you're done. Okay, so I hope we got a lot of participation. One similarity is that they both start with the deposit amount and the difference is that the first one, it's always adding 100. Always add 100. The second one is that it depends on what you deposit, what gets added. So it depends on the deposit amount. The more you deposit, the more they add. Okay, Gerard's first deposit was $500. Which bank should he choose? Explain. Well, the first bank, if he puts in $500, they add 100 and he will have a total of 600. The second bank, he puts in 500 and they add 5 over 100 is 0.05. They add 5% of that 500. So we have to follow PEMDAS and do 0.05 times 500, and that's 25. So they'll give him $25 more, which would be 525. So he should go with the first bank because they will give him more money. All right, example number 1. Find simple interest. Interest is applied to the initial amount only is called simple interest. Victoria owns a savings account with a deposit of $300. She will earn 1.6% simple interest each year on her money. How much interest will she earn over 5 years, assuming she did not add or take up any money? So principal is the initial amount, okay? Initial amount is called the principal. Step 1, use the percent equation to find the amount of interest earned in 1 year. So interest amount is equal to interest rate times the principal. So you have I equals PRT is the equation we're going to use. I equals PRT, where I is the interest, P is the principal, R is the rate, and T is time. So they only did interest rate and principal. They don't put the T in because they're finding it in 1 year. So it multiplied by 1. Notice that the interest rate is turned into a decimal. So it was 1.6 divided by 100 because it's percent. So you divide by 100, you get that decimal. So they got 480 and then they wanted to find it over 5 years. So they took that 480 times 5. So if we were just to use I equals PRT, straight from the beginning, we would have interest equals, now we do our percent, so 0.016 times, oh, that's not the principal, I'm sorry. The principal is what we start with. We started with 300 times the rate, which is the 0.016, times the time. If you multiply all those three out, interest equals $24. Victoria has another account at the bank that pays 2.5 simple interest. How much interest will she earn in 8 years on an initial deposit of $250, assuming she neither adds nor withdraws from the account? So 2.5% simple interest, that's our rate. 8 years, that's our time. And $250, that's our principal, what we're starting with. So we use I equals PRT. Interest equals, the principal is $250. The rate, now remember, 2.5%, 2.5% over 100. It's going to be 0.025 times our time, which is 8. So I'm going to do that in my calculator, 250 times 0.025 times 8. That will be 50. So Victoria will earn $50 in interest over 8 years. I'm not going to worry about their boxes. As long as we just do the equation, we'll be fine. 2.5, we did this already, 2.5% interest expressed as a decimal is 0.025. Will the interest for the second year be the same if it were calculated on the total after the first year? Why or why not? No, because the interest amount would increase. All right, example 2. Find percent of interest. So this is when we don't know the percent. Maya's older sister got a loan to buy a used car for $3,400. What was the interest rate on the loan? So it says here, if you borrow $3,400, that's going to be the principal, and pay $850 in interest, that's our interest, every month. So if we're doing 1 year, that means we are going to multiply this interest by 12 to find out the yearly. So that's what they did here. 850 times 12 is 102. So that's our interest. The rate we don't know. That's what we're trying to find. And the loan amount was $3,400. They don't have times 1 because it's only finding 1 year. Well, we're trying to solve for the P. The only way to get the P alone is to divide by 3,400. So they get the P is 0.03, which means it is 3% in 1 year. Another company will lend Maya's older sister $4,000. So again, that's the principal. Every month, she'll pay $11.88. That's going to help us get to our interest. What is the interest rate rounded to the nearest 0.1% for 1 year? So we can use our I equals PRT, but remember, this is per month, and we're trying to find year. So we have to do 1188 times 12. That gives us 142.56 equals, our principal is 4,000. We don't know what the rate is, but we know the time is 1 year. So doing PEMDAS, we can multiply that, 4,000 times 1. So we get 142.56 equals, well, 4,000 times 1 is just 4,000. R. I want to solve for R, so to get it alone, right now it's being multiplied by 4,000. So we have to divide by 4,000. So R equals 142.56 divided by 4,000. R equals 0.03564. So we want to turn that to a percent, so we just move the decimal twice. It's going to be, the rate is about 3.564%. All right, last example. Find the principal. Jake opened a savings account that earns 1.5% interest. So there's our rate. Jake estimates that, assuming he neither adds nor withdraws from his account, he will earn $240 in interest after 10 years. So here's our interest, and here's our time. So we need to find out what the principal is. So if we set up our I equals PRT, interest is 240. Our principal we don't know. The rate is 1.5%, so remember, divide that by 100, 0.015. So our rate is 0.015, and our time is 10 years. So PEMDAS first, I'm going to multiply. So 240 equals P times 0.15. Trying to solve for P, so I'm going to divide both sides by 0.15. That cancels. And now I get my calculator, 240 divided by 0.15 gives me 1,600. So his principal, the original amount, is 1,600. All right, let's try it. Caitlin's older brother borrowed money for school. He took out a loan that charges 6% simple interest. So there's my interest, but remember it's 0.06. He will end up paying $720 in, this is my interest rate, be careful. He will end up paying $720 in interest after 6 years. How much did Caitlin's brother borrow from school? So I equals PRT. We know the interest was $720. The principal is not what we don't know. The rate is 0.06 and the time is 6 years. So doing PEMDAS, I have to multiply 0.06 times 6. So that gives me P times 0.36. Trying to get P by itself, so I have to divide by both sides. So 720 divided by 0.36. The principal, the amount they originally borrowed, is $2,000. Remember, we always want to know what we're talking about here, $2,000. All right, 7th grade, let's say it. I can apply percent reasoning to solve simple interest problems. Have a super fantastic day.